start with Mayor Keller is going to say a few words about our crime stats, and Chief Medina will say a few words, and then we're going to show some videos based on some of the technology that Mayor Keller is going to talk about right now. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Gilbert. First off, just want to talk about timing a little bit. We went through our half-year stats appropriately when those were ready. We're doing these stats because it's when they're ready. It is not time for the campaign. And if any of you want any, slight irony, of course, I would have liked to share these stats much sooner. So we're doing this because this is what we always do. And the message that I shared with you about 3 months ago is the same, which is that for the first time in a decade, every crime category is going down. We know it's coming down in many cases from all-time highs, but we are seeing that what we are doing is working, and we've just got to keep doing it. I also want to address perception. I understand that the perception may not be that crime is going down, and I totally understand that. In fact, I would agree with that perception. But I will tell you, if we continue doing this for several more years, we will absolutely feel safer because we will be safer. So it's just a question of how long this has been happening. We're presenting 9 months of data to you, and we'll walk through each piece of this. Now, it does beg the question, why is this happening? And we are very confident it is because of essentially 3 things, the same 3 things we've been focusing on that are now bearing fruit. Number 1 is investment in technology. We're going to talk to you about whether it's gunshot detection, our real-time crime center, or automated speed enforcement, or license plate readers. These things are helping reduce crime, and they're also helping catch criminals and put them in jail, and put together cases that keep them in jail. Now, with respect to speed cameras, we're going to go into a little bit more detail this time, and I just want to emphasize that we still do traffic stops. Cameras allow us to do more traffic stops because we're freeing up officers so they can do more traffic stops. So it is not at all a zero-sum situation. In fact, it's the opposite, which officers refer to as a force multiplier. This actually helps get more officers out doing traffic enforcement. So we also want to highlight, of course, civilianization continues to be a huge reason why, again, even though our officer numbers are up, roughly 20%, depending on how and when you count, but we also know that we have more officers freed up to fight crime in different ways because we're using civilians. And that could be our community safety department, which has taken over 120,000 calls that police did not have to take. Or it can be things like our PSA program, which has tripled in size and now does things that frees up officers' time on traffic stops or traffic accidents on the highway, and also directing traffic all over town, and also taking report writing and low-level calls. So technology, civilianization, and then of course, good old-fashioned police work. I mean, let's be honest, our officers, as you will see, our arrest numbers are higher than they have been because of civilians and technology, but also because our officers are working hard and they are making the real difference that is driving crime down. And what we've done is essentially free them up and help support them so they can do that better than before. Now, I would just close with this. The other criticism we always get up front is, these trends are happening nationally. We will show you that our trends are well ahead of national trends. So just for example, if you look at something like homicide, our homicides are down 33% this year. That is welcome relief and positive sign for everyone in our city. And nationally, that trend is 19%. So we're almost double the national average in terms of progress. Rape, same thing. We're down 15%. The national trend is 6%. And we also see us beating the national trends in robbery and aggravated assault. So with more on this as we do want to focus on the officers. There is no reason for me to continue to keep talking about this because you're going to hear all about it for the next 4 weeks. So let's bring up our Chief of Police, Harold Medina.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to first start with thanking all the men and women of the Albuquerque Police Department, both sworn and professional staff. When I became Chief of Police, myself and Mayor sat down and we realized that we had to work hard to ensure that we could clear up officers with a badge and a gun to go do proactive policing and take a lot of the tasks that were administrative and find professional staff which could accomplish those needs and ensure that our officers were out there enforcing the law as much as possible. I also want to thank the administration for all of their support in the increase in technology, the increase in professional staff numbers, and also for the ability for us to continue to go out there and push our officers hard and ensure that our officers felt well compensated and that they had high level of morale to produce the work that they're producing right now. I think also I just want to mention that, like Mayor said, our trends are higher than national averages, which is a positive thing for us at the Albuquerque Police Department. But there are a lot of little nuances along the way that we've done in the last 8 years to ensure that we continue to work within the system that we have. The paralegals that prepare cases for the DA's office is one prime example of how we thought outside the box early on. The LFC report shortly after this in about 2019 clearly stated that that program helped double the amount of indictments we were getting, and we continue to be innovative in a number of ways to ensure that not only do we arrest, but we're trying to increase the likelihood of, number one, detention being granted, which we do know those numbers have increased, and number two, individuals being held accountable for the crimes they've committed. I think our clearance rates on homicides are a good indication of that. Like Mayor said, there'll always be those naysayers who say crime is not reported, and I'm going to tackle that right off the back and remind individuals that all homicides are reported. It is very unlikely that we do not find a body or that a body is disposed of, but that number doesn't change drastically year to year that we're aware of. And the simple fact is we are much lower in homicides than we had been in the previous few years. The other number is shootings with an injury. That's when a bullet actually strikes an individual. And those shootings with injuries, for example, in 2024, at this point in time, they're 237. This year, they're 144 for a 39% reduction. And the last thing, and I've always relied on this, I spent a lot of times in property crimes. There is very few people who understand property crimes as well as this administration and some of my leadership, because that's where we kind of cut our teeth. Myself, Deputy Chief Griego, George Vega, Chief of Staff Hernandez, all of us worked property crimes together in 2010, 2011, where we saw some of the lowest rates in the city. And auto theft is a crime that is always reported. People report that their car is stolen in order for us to be able to try to retrieve that car, and stolen cars are down this year 40%. Year to date, motor vehicle theft is at 2,700, about 2,700 for the year to date. There's a good possibility we'll be right around the 3,300 mark on that for the year. I want you to take into comparison when we started working these operations in 2018, where the area was focusing somewhere, I think it was about 10,000 cars that were being stolen. So from then to now, you can see the massive decrease in auto theft within the city of Albuquerque. But like I said, this all happens because of the hard work of the men and women of the Albuquerque Police Department, both sworn and civilian. And they're the ones, ultimately, that deserve credit for going out there each and every day, knowing that there's obstacles with the criminal justice system, knowing individuals are going to get released, and they simply have the philosophy of, we will arrest them again and again to ensure that we continue to make the city as safe as possible. With that, I'm going to go over to Gilbert, we'll go through some numbers, and I'll jump in as need to.
So as I said, most of these are third quarter stats, which is the NIBR stats that we report to the FBI. We do wait, takes us about 4 to 6 weeks before we report them out publicly because reports are still coming in, so they're much more accurate at this point. Go ahead. Except, so some of these are different though. These are actually number of arrests, which we track real time. So this is year to date. And if you look at that, we have arrests, I think, for the past 3 years have gone up, probably felony arrests. But between last year and this year, it's up 26%. And these are felony warrants. A little bit less of an increase, but it's still going up, and that has been a huge focus of the department over the past few years.
And I want to point out that what you don't have up here is 2022, 2023. Both years that had, I believe it was respectively a 24 and a 29% increase in the number of felony warrants. So you look at that, 24, if it was that first year, and then followed by 29, plus an additional 8 this year, it is a record number of felony warrants being cleared by the officers of the Albuquerque Police Department.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, a lot of this is indicative of all of the operations along the Central Avenue corridor. I think that track people and catch people who have felony warrants. And so these are the actually NIBR stats I spoke about that are third quarter stats. Aggravated assault, as I've mentioned before, is a category that includes shootings, and it's something that hadn't gone down for several years, but over the last 2 years they have been going down pretty steadily. So those are down 13% this year out of the first 3 quarters. Shootings with injuries, as the chief mentioned, are down 39%, which is huge, and then homicides are down 32%, which includes this weekend's homicide. And the other 2 categories that the FBI tracks for violent crime, robbery is down 22% and rape is down 15%. And property crimes, as the chief mentioned, again, these are NIBR's categories. So burglary, breaking and entering is down 13%, destruction and vandalism down 25%, larceny is down 9%, and I want to point out, I'll have to pull the shoplifting, but I think that's down too, and if you recall, shoplifting is a larceny, and a lot of those stats are the ones that really were going up during and after COVID. We saw a lot of the break-ins and Targets and stuff, and I think we and others, big box stores, obviously we have put a lot of effort into our organized retail theft unit and prosecution of those crimes and changed the law. You want to say anything about that one?
You know, and I think it's important to remember that I always hear the false narrative that, you know, businesses are not reporting shoplifting. We have made it as easy as possible for businesses to report shoplifting, and they are reporting shoplifting. We actually get it in masses because generally sometimes certain businesses will hold their shopliftings and upload them all online to include photographs and any other evidence that they have. And a lot of times there's a criticism while it's reported online. We actually have people who filter through those cases online, find the ones that have investigative leads, and forward those for investigations. We have done a lot to increase the reporting of shoplifting. We've met with local businesses, we've reached out to local businesses, and we do everything humanly possible to ensure that they know to report those cases more than any other administration has ever done in making sure that those cases get reported because of the different variety of ways that we've created for them to be able to report this.
And then finally, motor vehicle theft is down 40%, as the chief previously spoke about. And this is what the mayor went over in his remarks, the comparisons to national numbers. These were taken from the Major City Chiefs Association, did their third quarter violent crime stats recently. So you see homicides are down in both nationally and locally. Same with rape. We're about twice as much as the national average. Albuquerque, the robberies should be down 22% robbery compared to 19% nationally, so that's pretty similar. And same with ag assault. We're down 13%, it's about 10% nationally. And when I say nationally, that's Major City Chiefs, so those are how many?
It's the largest agency in the United States, and all but one agency of the 78 included, I believe, did not report. So we had almost full reporting from the Major City Chiefs agencies. And one of the things to really emphasize and look at, it's not only Major City Chiefs who has recognized the success in our homicide reduction. PERF, which is another national organization that tracks policing and trends, actually pushed out a story from KOAT about our homicide reduction last week, pushed it out nationally to all the chiefs within their organization, and several of those chiefs reached out back to me and congratulated us on our reduction, which was stellar above a lot of other agencies.
And then we're just going to show a few videos real quick to highlight a recent incident involving automated speed cameras. So this was brought to our attention from DMD, which oversees the program. And what you're going to see is an incident where turns out a juvenile had been driving his car along Montgomery over and over and over at excess of 100 miles an hour oftentimes. I think this time he's going over 80 miles an hour. So this is one incident where the camera caught him. Here's another one. He was going over 100 miles an hour at night on Montgomery. And so what happened, they were able to capture the license plate, which we later determined to be a fake license plate. But they were able to capture it. They put it into the ALPR, or automated license system. And as soon as those started hitting, they were able to figure out what kind of car it was a little better than on those photos. And as they started pinging at other intersections, our officers in the Northeast Area Command were responding, and they were able to take them into custody. So here's the initial, I think, maybe the second or third time they caught him at an intersection. And he'll go around and initiate the traffic stop. Sorry, I'm not sure why the video is choppy, but I'm going to go to the next one. So here's when they approach the car. And it had a license plate that said 2.5 GPA and showed out of Texas, but we learned it was a fake license plate. As they asked the driver for his information, the officer on the side here noticed that the real license plate for the car, which was a New Mexico license plate, was in the glove compartment. So once they ran it and figured out everything with the car, it turned out it was this juvenile, it was his mom's car, and that was her real license plate number, or license plate. She later told officers that she knew that her son had purchased this fake license plate and was just using it for TikTok type stuff. So there's the fake one that officers removed from the car. They also said they purchased it through TikTok as well. And then here's officers talking about it, and they talk about this trend where they see the cameras in the back of the trunk, indicates they're usually racing and videotaping themselves. And then they conceal their license. You able to turn it up? Or? Sorry, you can't hear it very well, but basically that's what they're talking about. They said they had been seeing two different trends. One is fake license plates to hide their burglaries when they go and do that. And in this case, they're seeing more and more of these juveniles and young adults who are concealing their license numbers from the automated license plate readers while they race up and down the street. So this was a good example of the folks that are overseeing the automated license plate program, noticing a trend, reporting it out, and then our officers going ahead and taking custody.
You know, a couple of things I really want to mention about this video is we talk a lot about partnerships, and we talk a lot about how the strong relationship we had with the FBI and the difference it made, the Muslim shootings, the political shootings, the DWI corruption scandal, and how we communicated and worked so close together with them. We've talked about ATF, the fact that ATF had a van here during the Muslim shootings. We tested firearms on scene. We are the first agency to have a MOU with tribal agencies so they could bring in their shell casings and firearms for NIBA training. We know we have strong relationships. State police has always been a great partner for the Albuquerque Police Department. We know that we have these strong relationships with law enforcement, but I think one of the things that we've tried to do different now is to ensure that we have strong relationships with other entities within city government. And you heard Gilbert say DMD reached out to us and let us know that they saw this trend, and we worked with DMD. But I think the important thing is this time we thought outside the box. When you think of previous speed cameras, red light cameras, you were never once given a presentation where they inputted it into an LPR to locate it and have officers pick it up as it was on the street. And that was really good creative work, but it only occurs because we're working together with other entities, and we have a meeting called Duke City Stat, where we've broken down the silos, and for the first time in the history of this department, everybody is at the table communicating, and all units are under the direction of one deputy chief to ensure that we're addressing some of these current problems and trends that are occurring. So this is just a great example of showing our partnerships within city government, our ability to communicate within a department, and our ability to utilize technology in ways that it's never been utilized before, uploading this fake plate into the LPR and having it give notifications when it's driving down a certain street so that officers were able to find this vehicle, stop it, and put an end to this careless driving that was occurring within city streets.
The other use of this that I've seen a lot more lately too is when we get these ALPR hits of a possible stolen vehicle, it's being, now we have 2 new helicopters, they're up there and they are automatically looking for those stolen license plate numbers based on the ALPR hits. So that's another use of multiple technologies.
So that's just the investment that has been put into the police department. You heard Gilbert say nearly 2 brand new helicopters, never happened in the city of Albuquerque's history before. A new drone program where we're able to launch drones more quickly. Not only do we have fixed LPRs within the city, every single marked unit now has a dash cam that has LPR capabilities. And the very first week or the first 2 weeks of that program, we saw where that helped solve a homicide because of a plate that it picked up as the officers were en route to a call they had received reference shots fired. So the building of a true technology-based department that connected all the dots, and we don't have just scattered technology across the board, has made a huge difference in our ability to fight crime and is part of the big reason why we've seen the reductions we've had.
You guys have any
Questions? Yes, Nick.
Got 2. One, is Mayor Carroll ever going to be available for questions?
Probably not.
Okay. Second, you guys talked about all this and you know, the citizens feel that they're not safe. What would you tell a citizen if you're talking to them and they express that they're not safe in the city, even though you did this technology pitch?
You know, I think it's important, and all the chiefs at a national level have had this discussion. When we had our conference here in August, we devoted one section to talking about the perception of crime and how do we fight that perception. And the only way we could continue to fight that, and I see what the citizens of Albuquerque see. I see the same thing. We have an unhoused issue that we're working through like every other cities. I also travel this country, and I drove several chiefs around our city, and their compliment was, it is a beautiful city with a lot of great things going on. And the follow-up astonished me. It's unfortunate that you're judged from Wyoming to Louisiana, 2 blocks north of Central, 2 blocks south of Central. Because the vast majority of issues we're finding ourselves in is we have a concentration of the unhoused mainly in these areas, and it's that fear of the unhoused that is making individuals feel unsafe in this city, and we will continue to address those issues. We do each and every day. I'm not going to tell you it's better, but I'm going to tell you it's changed. If you just look 18 months ago, how many tents did we see within the city? You look today, you don't see that number anymore. We continue to push out resources. Fortunately, I'm very happy that we were able to get Gateway open and that we're able to get people to resources. And in the near future, we'll be doing a press conference where we started an old program I started years ago, where we drove around and proactively picked up intoxicated individuals and asked them if they wanted to go to services. This morning, I got my first update, and we've transported almost 30 people to try to get resources and to help them with some of their problems. So yes, I agree with the citizens of Albuquerque that it is difficult and that there is this perception of unsafeness, but it is brought on a lot because of the view of the unhoused and what you see around that community. And it's unfortunate. This morning, I drove down Coors from the city limits all the way to I-40. And that street looked slower traffic and it looked extremely clear. But unfortunately, individuals who want to push their own narrative will continue to just focus on criticizing the Albuquerque Police Department and the hardworking officers for that area of town. Wyoming to San Mateo, 2 blocks north, 2 blocks south. And we will continue to devote resources there, and we will continue to work with our partners because we are not the solution in law enforcement. The solution is we need to continue to, I wish we could have had Gateway open a year earlier. We didn't. We will continue to push individuals to get resources and help there because this is an issue that is only going to be solved through strong mental health treatment and strong substance abuse treatment. Yes.
Do you credit some of your success to the National Guard, and how long do you expect them to continue assisting APD?
You know, the National Guard was a great help. Obviously, this success is over the years. They came in halfway through the year. We wanted to curb them over the summer months. They did a great job in assisting us in clearing up officers. I think somewhere near 8,000 hours they've done scene security to clear officers so they could go out and see this increase in arrests. So I am extremely grateful for the National Guard. I suppose in the near future they will have to go and they have other missions around the state with other cities that are suffering from the same issues we see in Albuquerque. Espanola, New Mexico. I'm from Taos, still go to Taos frequently. They have the same issues we have in Albuquerque, just magnified here more because we are the center of the state and we are the largest city within the state of New Mexico. But I would suppose in the near future they are going to be shifted to other places, but we're grateful for everything that they helped us with in Albuquerque. And I'm also grateful that the state worked with us and we deployed them our way in Albuquerque, and I think that's the key. Yes, we had them wear polo shirts. Yes, we had them wear 511 pants and drive non-military vehicles. I stand by those decisions that myself and Mayor Keller dug our heels in for because that was the right thing for our community and able in order to gain acceptance from all citizens within the city. Yes.
And you also credited crime-fighting technologies such as ShotSpotter. That is an annual contract. Do you expect to renew that contract at the end of this year?
I recommend we renew all contracts. It's not just ShotSpotter that's a contract. We have ShotSpotter, we have speed cameras. And one of the things on the speed cameras is I know a lot of people talk about traffic. They can't replace a traffic stop. That's absolutely not true because the number one deterrent to speeding is a citation. Every single traffic school will tell you somebody receiving a citation changes driver's behavior. If it wasn't for this technology and my ability to have people slow down on some of the west side streets, I would have to devote resources to doing traffic enforcement there. But we're able to let the speed cameras do the enforcement there to slow down the speeding and devote more resources towards traditional fighting of crime, such as taking individuals with warrants to jail. Yes, Mark.
Chief, that child that was speeding around bragging he has a 2.5 GPA on his license plate, was he arrested for?
No, that individual I believe was only cited and Gilbert.
Yeah, I can send the paperwork, but he went through the juvenile justice system. So
The-
I don't know.
The one thing I'll say, I was joking with Gilbert before this, and I said more than likely there is no accountability to that child for their actions, and that feeds right into the narrative that we have to do a better job as a state. This isn't a problem for city council. This isn't a problem for the mayor. The state needs to do a better job in making sure that we hold juveniles accountable to the right level.
I've seen that car myself speeding around Northeast Heights, so I was just curious.
I hope you don't see it no more because we got it. Yes, sir.
You actually mentioned in that same story that the mother admitted to knowing that their son purchased a fraudulent license plate. Is there any kind of repercussions for the mother as well? Is there anything along those lines?
I don't have that answer for you. I'll have to look into that.
Okay.
In the past, you talked about the state needing to do more for mental health. We've talked a lot about ACS coming in, helping you guys out when you didn't need it. Do you expect in the future to have further collaboration with ACS or maybe a specialized unit for APD that does mental health calls?
You know, ACS is in a great place right now. We have a great relationship. I couldn't thank them enough. A matter of fact, they're assisting us with transport of individuals in the evenings to the shelter. We have more record numbers of people using city services each night than we've ever seen before. And a big part of that is ACS is such a great partner with us, and they're able to take individuals who approach officers and say they'd like to get to services. They're able to take them off our hands and get them to somewhere safe for the evening or for the day or to get services, and our officers able to go back into service. So we have a great relationship. I think it's important to remember ACS is one of their functions is dealing with the unhoused, but one of their biggest primary functions where they've helped the police department is they take a bulk of our suicide calls where the individual is not armed and the individual just needs help, and our officers no longer go to those calls, which the first year of their existence we have to reel back and remember it worked somewhere in our favor of like a 50% reduction in use of force. So yes, I hope ACS can grow in the future, and I hope that they could continue to have such the partnership they have with us now, above all, because it really is at its top right now.
But we do already have a unit that deals with
Yes.
violent behavioral health incidents.
Yes. Any other questions? All right, thank you. Just take care.